Over the last 10 years, I've worked with many junior data scientists who exclusively use Pandas for all feature engineering. If you're one of them, then I'll show you why and when you should use SQL to your advantage using a simple but real-world use case that I've worked on in the past. Use case is a doctor level lead matching. So for each lead that comes in that call into a call center, we want to assign them to the best doctor that can convert that lead into an order. So for that, one of the features we thought was going to be useful is if the doctor has attended a conference or taken a course in the past. So that will likely help them convert the lead. So for that, we have this data, course attendance. So we bring them in Pandas, and we simply need the ID and the date when they completed it. And for this project, we just aggregated it up to a week level. So here I'm using Pandas to transform the date into a year and week. Okay, in the end, when you combine all the data, you have simply two columns, the doctor ID and the year and week. Next, we go to the features, which we are going to join this data to. So in the features, you have each lead coming in, what's the consult date, what doctor did we assign it to in the past, and did they convert it or not. But for this purpose, for the feature engineering, we just need the year and week of that consult date, right? So once we have those two data frames, and now comes the fun part. If you can imagine doing this in Pandas, it gets really complicated. So this is where SQL shines. It helps you join two data frames. In this case, we are simply doing a left join from the course attendance table to our model table. And we're saying if the course attendance has a year or week that's falling before the leads year and week, then we count it as one. So for each doctor and the year and week, give me if he or she has finished a certification in the past, right? So as you can imagine, doing that in Pandas is possible, but using SQL, it becomes much more succinct. And the main advantage of SQL is you can easily switch between Pandas data frames and Spark data frames. So let's imagine you start with a small data set, but then it keeps on growing as you kind of mature into the product. Then at some point you want to switch to Spark, then it becomes as simple as switching your Pandas data frames to Spark data frames and just use spark.sql, and that's it. You don't have to rewrite any of your code. And a second advantage is high readability and maintainability. So as you can imagine, this 5 lines of code would have taken probably more than 50 lines if you've written that in Pandas. And the third is most important. If you're working with data analysts and business analysts in the real world, a lot of them use SQL to query databases. So your work and collaboration with them becomes much quicker and faster. So there you have it. So there are cases when you want to use Pandas, and there are cases when you want to use SQL. So choose wisely.